Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Nisha Srivastava. She is a Pilates and yoga instructor, celebrated for her dynamic influence in the health and fitness industry over the last 2 decades. She is the director of Pilates Manchester and Northwest Pilates and Yoga Center. Welcome to the show, Nisha.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me, Ajay, today.
You are welcome to the show, Nisha. You are welcome to India in this online form. You already have a connection with India, also been a part of Bollywood once. So we'll come to that. So we will be talking about a lot of stuff about everything. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit about learning about from secrets of secret techniques for resilience and strength from you. But before I come to that, Nisha, help us understand a bit about your journey so that people know about who they are listening to.
Well, my background is in creativity, art, and movement. So, movement is everything in life. And we know, KAJ, particularly in India, people are always moving. Life is always moving. Food is always moving. Water is always growing and moving. And the body is designed to move. The mind is designed to move. All the systems in the body are constantly moving. So I originally came from a dance background, and from my dance background, I went into Pilates and yoga. And I really love the way the movement makes me feel, because when you move, you feel better, you feel more energetic, and you have a better ability to deal with problems in life.
Absolutely. Better ability to deal with problems in life. So, going from Bollywood to Pilates and yoga, how did that transition happen? Tell us a bit about that.
Little bit about it. Well, Devanand, the late Devanand, as you know, used to shoot and do his filming all over the world. And he came over to the UK and he was heading to Scotland, and he was looking for a female actress to play the baddie part in one of his films. And it was actually his son, which I encountered through Devanand. Now, Devanand said I reminded him of an old Bollywood actress called Helen. I don't know whether you remember her. So the way I moved and everything was very much similar to Helen. So Devanand's son, Sunil, came along. He was producing a film. I auditioned and I got the role, and it was the most wonderful experience I ever had, because I got to travel to India 2 or 3 times. India is my home background, but working with a film team, traveling from, Bombay to Bangalore, Coorg and Ooty, filming out in the sticks, experiencing the riots with Miss World in Bangalore. It was an incredible experience. And I love some of the people I met. I got the opportunity to work with Harish Patel, and Harish Patel had also been starring in a lot of British serials over here. From my career in Bollywood, I, went into dance. And I, had a dance school. And from dance, the next step on was Pilates and yoga. But I still dance some freestyle at the weekends and dance class, but not quite the same as it was when I was in my 20s.
Absolutely. So now let's come to the core values. You talk about core values that will simplify your life. So I want to understand movement, core values. How do they come together? Help us understand, what do you mean by core values, and where does movement come into this picture of core values?
Well, this is the confusion, Ajay. So core values is how you live your life every day. So we might say one thing, but then do another. So my core values are my diet, my nutrition, my movement, mindset, breathing and hydration. Now, it's very, very easy to do those things in life when everything's going well, but it's when things have a problem or when there's stress or when you're traveling that it's hard to adhere to those core values. So that's where your core values show. How are you living your life under pressure? Now, the way it really relates to movement is, we talk about resilience. A resilient body has the ability to fight stress, to fight disease, and to really stand strong in the face of adversity. And we're seeing now in India all the, problems with the weather. When you have a resilient body, you have a better ability to deal with those things in life. And it really does make a difference. And your core values will show when you're under stress. What are you able to still do? How do you react to other people? Are you coming from a place of reflection or reaction? So a resilient mind is a resilient body. And even simple things like praying every day, having a practice, going to the temple, having religious, point of view, they would be core values for some people, but it's whether they do them in times of stress, which really shows what their core values are.
Right. So how does one get started? These things sound too simple, and that's why people forget it, because or they think how will it impact my life? And
Well,
many a times they just don't get into that.
Yes, I start my core values with a morning routine. So in India, people have a morning walk and an evening walk. So if you started every day with a morning walk, that would be the start of your core value. And I think people aim too high. People want to lose too much weight. They want to do too much exercise, just little things every day. So a morning routine, I feel, is crucial. And in the UK, it does get very cold. So I find it easier to do it in the summertime here than it is in the winter. And in the winter, you've got to have real discipline. So my core value would be to move every morning. And it might just be a little bit of walking. It might be the gym. But the way I start my morning will predict everything that happens in the day. So when I move in the morning, I feel more positive in my mindset. I'm more productive, as you probably know, Ajay. And I also then, can enjoy a beautiful breakfast, whether I'm at work or whether I'm at home when I've moved. And then I get my planning done for the day. So it's my movement, my eating clean, and my planning for the day.
Right, Nisha. So you talk about, becoming a warrior. What is
Yes.
this warrior all about? What you have to fight? What is it? What are the tools that you need? What are the weapons that you will need as a warrior here?
Yes. So a warrior mindset, are we going to be the victim of our circumstances or the architect of the future? So a warrior is turning adversity and pain into positivity. So if you've interviewed many different people, Ajay, and I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and I notice you've interviewed many entrepreneurs and many millionaires around the world, you will find that most millionaires and billionaires have come from a pain background or have had much adversity in their life which had pushed them on. So it's learning to turn your pain into your power, because we can become powerful instead of powerless. But I find diet, having adequate water, thinking correctly, doing breath work, moving correctly, and getting the right amount of sleep gives you that warrior mindset and the warrior body, because the warrior body comes from the inside out. So we might say one thing, but if we're not internally believing it, we can't do it outside. So it's, standing firm, having strength in the legs, because our strength doesn't just show on what we do around us. It's about thinking about our feet rooting through to the ground, getting strength from our roots below, finding our ancestral heritage and our background and really powering us forwards in that warrior mindset.
Wonderful, wonderful, Nisha. Now, you talked about food. Food is something, a lot of people love food. And many a times, the way it is packaged nowadays, that it is very difficult to say no to that,
Yeah.
especially kids and anyone else also. How do you then, you suggest how to not make the wrong choices in food And because on one side you have got the taste buds craving
Yes.
for that thing when you see it, or even thinking about it whenever somebody talks about it. And on the other hand, there is this warrior mindset that would require you to maintain some discipline in your life. Is there a trick how you can trick that craving and not go for such foods?
Well, there is, because the body only craves sugar when it's protein and fat deficient. So I'm going to say that again. The body only craves sugar when it's protein and fat deficient. So everything is the preparation. So if I'm eating right and at the right times, and I tend to have breakfast like a king, lunch like a lord, and supper like a pauper, when I am faced with, a sweet treat or a heavy carbohydrate food, I will say no. And temptation is always there. So, looking at what our ancestors ate, if your grandma didn't eat it, don't eat it. If it's got a shelf life, don't eat it. And it's so difficult now, not only in the West, but in the East as well, because fast food is infiltrated everywhere. And it's become very trendy and very, very fashionable to have all this fast food. And it's shown so much in our serial dramas, in the UK, in the States, and in India, and in the films, but it actually doesn't serve us. It makes the body break down catabolically. It makes us more prone to dis-ease, and it doesn't serve our mind. So we know a lot about the gut microbiome. So when the gut is chronically inflamed, it contributes to things like our mental health, dementia, Alzheimer's. So it's doing the preparation, looking at, where you're going. So if you're being invited to a fast food restaurant, I would personally eat before. So when I go, I'm not tempted. So, and also I may say no. And if people are pushing me, I may say, I'm really thank you for the beautiful opportunity, but I'm going to join you afterwards, not in the restaurant, because that food doesn't serve me. And I'm on my own personal journey for a healthy body and a flat tummy. Because eating all that junk food just causes inflammation, and the belly will swell, and then we can't digest and, do as much as we wanted to do. But you're very, very right. Everything's in our planning. Poor planning, will show in everything. So you can't have a great life doesn't happen by accident. A great life happens by planning. And I personally journal every morning and last thing at night. So what am I grateful for in the evening, and how do I want to start my day? And as you know, when you go round India, there are so many affirmations and quotes everywhere. So, I am strong, I am healthy, I am rich, I am not hungry. These things do help, but it is very, very difficult.
Right, Nisha. Now, in terms of movement, a lot of people sometimes think I have a small house, small apartment. I will, and it is a difficult thing to go out, always out every day, early in the morning or in the
Yes,
evening. Laziness sets in, and especially with the phone in your hand. You just
yes,
scroll a bit and then you forget about it. How do people get to this movement part? Especially, during COVID, a lot of people had to stay back at home.
that's
A lot
right.
of people gained weight
Yes,
because
they do.
there was no way out. So, and when nowadays, because of small apartments and whatever the way
Yes.
it is, they are not able to go out. How should they make sure that they are getting enough movement that the body needs for them?
Well, you don't need any equipment. Your body is your body weight. So you can work with your body weight. And there is so many free resources now on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. There is so many podcasts, and you can use household things. So for example, I'm sitting on a chair. I could be lifting the chair up and down. I could be holding it here and go into some squats. I can use the chair and use it to do some press ups. There is always a way. People say to me, I've got no room. There's always a way. Even using your putter or your scarf here, this can become an exercise to open the shoulders. So, just finding 5 or 10 minutes every day to do something, or even when you're waiting to make chai or a cup of tea, doing 10 squats, 10 press ups, those simple things will help. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I would say choose 3 exercises. So your mobilize exercise would be squats, your chest exercise would be your push-up or your press-ups, and you could do that on the side of a chair. And then you'd have one more exercise, and that could be pranayama or breathing. You could have a twist exercise. It's entirely up to you. And there is always a way, Ajay. There is always a way to problem solve in life. We tend to focus on what's not working rather than what's working. So where our attention goes, energy flows.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well explained, Nisha. And I'm very happy to see, very easily you could lift that chair.
Yes.
And it will be difficult even for a person like me. So I think I will need a little bit of more exercise, but very, very, very impressive sort of a thing to see, Nisha. Now, in terms of, let's come down to Pilates and yoga. How did you come across Pilates? And you are dealing with a lot of people who are into professional sports. So help us understand, do people know fully about Pilates, how they can embrace Pilates? Or many people think, okay, it's much more of related to a few, girls or ladies, perhaps it suits them better. Do they have this misconception, or is it, I don't know how to put it, but help us understand more about Pilates.
Well, Joseph Pilates was a man, and that goes as well for many of the people who developed the yoga. If we look at Krishnamacharya and, the Ashtanga yoga, which comes from the lineage of Patabi Jois. So a lot of these exercise systems were devised by men. And if we look now in modern world, we have Ida Portal, Feldenkrais, it's all men who devise these exercises. But for some reason, it seems to be predominantly women that want to do it. Now, with Pilates, it seems to be divided into 2 sections, a more contemporary feel and classical feel, and more on the rehabilitation. Now, I feel the rehabilitation side came from physiotherapy, and football and rugby have been using it for years. And I've now seen a lot of cricketers using it as well, because it builds inner strength from the inside out. So when you're playing cricket, it's big global muscles. You're doing short, sharp blasts of movements, when you're on the field. The Pilates works from the inner strength. It also works from the mindset, so it's concentration and discipline. It works from specific exercises that work in reps and sets, using your body weight as the load, so it becomes a full body method. So instead of thinking of one muscle action, it's a full body method. So I've worked myself with many professional footballers and many rugby players, and it works on injury prevention, rehabilitation, core stability, flexibility and mobility, reducing lower back pain and neck pain, working on decompression of the spine. But movement isn't only the one part of the puzzle, it works in connection with good breath work. Diet is very, very important as well. Hydration, how much water you're having every day, sleep, all these things work in together in conjunction, and mindset. And remember, when we have purpose every day, Ajay, we have power. A day where we wake up and we have no purpose, we go into our minds and we create trouble and we create drama, because we as human beings are addicted to cortisol. And that's why soap operas and serials do so well, because we love drama. We love seeing other people's trouble, but we actually need to create a life full of purpose. As Gandhi said, you've got to lead the way. Be the change that you want to be. So if you want other people to change, you've got to change yourself. You've got to go out there. You've got to have that fighting spirit. You've got to be able to, discipline yourself with fasting and all these things.
Wonderful, wonderfully explained, Nisha. Now, people see a lot of, different talks about either Pilates, either yoga, or someone is telling about going to a gym or running, and so many options are there for them. And then they again can get confused what is the best thing for them. Even in food, it is like that. So
Yes, it is.
how does one decide, especially in terms of exercise, what is the best for them? Should it be about their convenience, or should it be about body type, or should it be about something else? How do you decide on that?
Well, you raise a very important point there, Ajay, and people always ask me, what's the best exercise for me? So I always say to people, the best exercise for you is the one you are willing to do each day. And remember, starting one little thing slowly will build into another. So it's the same for you when you started this podcast. Maybe you were doing one a week, one a month, and then it built, and then it built, and it built. So start off with something that you are prepared to do every day. As you get more technical, you can then look at body weight composition. So because my background is from India, we look at Ayurveda. So we have Kapha, Vata, Pitta. So I'm a mixture of Kapha body type, which is the typical Northern India, which is the hips, the chest, but I'm also Pitta, which is very, very active and very doing, which is also very atypical India, always going, always doing what's next, looking for the next solution. So body weight for Indian people in general, doing strength training is very good, because the strength training works the lower extremity. We have a wide pelvis. We want to build strength through our glutes, through our legs. Our legs tend to have, problems with alignment. Sometimes we have bowed legs and things like that. So strength training, upper body training, using weights, even using just lifting up and down, a sack of dal, a sack of rice, all these things. So I would say strength, but also getting a little bit of cardio. But I'd say strength is the way forwards, particularly with the amount of arthritis in India, and also the amount of hip replacements, knee replacements, and also heart attacks and heart disease. So your strength and your movement will help you and be one of the contributing factors to giving you a longer, more mobile life.
Right. And in this age of artificial intelligence, Nisha, people are worried about so many things, even worried about how their jobs will be impacted by AI in the coming days. And that leads to this mental stress and all sort of stress. How do they make themselves stronger and stronger in terms of their mind and resilience? Is there a specific trick or tip for this?
Well, it's funny you said that, Ajay, because the East, wants to be the West, and the West wants to be the East. So the emotion that we all come from is fear. So when you see war in the world, when we see somebody who's a different religion, maybe a different color, different belief system to us, dresses a different way, we feel fear. And when we feel fear, that is the lowest form of on the chakra system, and that is actually the root chakra, which is survival. And when we are on fear, that brings separation and segregation, and that's what you see around the world. So the whole thing is to climb up the chakra system. So we're coming from a place of courage, we're coming from a place of neutrality, we're coming from a place of reflection. But I have to say, Ajay, that it's religions, government, and schooling that teaches us fear and keeps us in that judgmental part, which is that root chakra, where we forget, we're living constantly worrying about the future. So, anxiety is worrying about the future. Depression is living in the past. Sometimes you've just got to live in the present moment. And I'm not saying to you, ignore the AI. Yes, we need to be prepared, because that will take many jobs. But perhaps rather than being in fear with it, work with it. Try and climb up that chakra system, because if you look at the chakras right from, yogic practice, which is from India, it's about rising that chakra. But we all go down to root chakra, which is judgment, separation, segregation, despair, anger, greed, jealousy. We all do it, including me. And this is why there is so much suffering in the world, because this is where people come from. And if we all climb up, we can all climb up together.
Absolutely. And one more thing I wanted to understand, that as we talk about more about either AI, stress, mental problems all across the world, there is this new sort of, whole lot of people talking about consciousness, spirituality. I myself get so many, get to talk about so much of the spiritual wisdom, and not from the East. The amazing part is it's all from the West. So what's happening in this world? Is it the
Yes.
new age which is dawning? how do you look at all this new phenomena, Nisha?
Well, because there's been so much conflict in the world, particularly over the past 4 years, when there's a lot of conflict, it's an opportunity to regrow. So I've seen a great divide. So I've seen a lot of rise in spirituality because remember, people start to question life. Why is this happening? Where is God? Who is God? So when we behave, we actually behave from 95% of our unconscious programming. Only 5% is our conscious programming. So, we want to live without being really we want to change what we're doing. That doing putting on the wrong subconscious. We connect to the level of yesterday in New Delhi. Help them, we have to help and change ourselves first, and then the consciousness grows, so we are helping and healing the world. This is how
Wonderful, wonderful, Nisha. If you are getting me, there was a bit of a technical issue, perhaps with the freeze frame. But if are you listening, getting me, Nisha, properly? Yeah, yeah. So that was a lot of good information, good understanding that you gave to us, Nisha. And though I get yours as a freeze frame, I'm sure you are able to listen to me. So I'm sure a lot of people would like to, connect with you, learn more about you, more from you. So what is the best way for them to do so, Nisha? Okay. Okay. Seem to be some. I'm sure Disha will tie back, and I'm sure we'll get her soon. Though the show is almost over, we were trying to get her details for the audience. If not, we'll be putting all the information onto the YouTube description. So just wait for a few more moments for Nisha. Otherwise, the show we have already got lots of wisdom, lots of important stuff from Nisha. So I'll just wait for a few more seconds and we'll see. Otherwise, we'll end the show on this note and add all the information that is needed for connecting with Nisha at the moment. So let's wait for a few more seconds. Yes,
Right.
Nisha, no problem.
Sorry
This
about
this
that.
No problem, no problem. Perfectly all right. So, as I said, there is a lot of wisdom that we've got from listening to you, understanding, and I said a lot of people would like to connect with you, learn more from you about all these things, including Pilates and yoga. So, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram at Nisha Pilates, and I have a free ebook which is called Body Transformation with Nisha. And that will give them all about strength training, about Pilates, about yoga, and a little bit about food. They can also find me on YouTube under Nisha Srivastava, where I have so much free content for people to work out and train every day. So you really don't have to spend any money.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Ajay.